Yeah, thanks, Romy, for the introductions. Today, as for the previous webinars, we'll be going through some features. So we'll be handling upcoming releases, some recent releases, and some ongoing developments which are happening right now. And we'll also briefly look into the first half year of 2025. Yeah, today in the Netherlands, it's for the people who know, it's Sinterklaas, so that means that kids will all get presents. So hopefully today we will also be able to give you at least some Go Bright gifts, so to say, for your platform or for your customers. Yeah, we're excited to share some new updates, and hopefully you're excited about them as well. So we can first kick off with the upcoming releases. So these are the bigger developments which which will be released in the coming like 1.5 month. Yeah, there are developments which have been ongoing for quite some time. They're worked on by our development team specifically for the advanced analytics and the Mapviewer upgrade for quite some months now. So we're very happy that we're close to releasing them, and yeah, being able to show it to you in a few weeks, and being able to add value to our customers more with these updates and upgrades. So yeah, let's dive into them and see what we will be releasing in a few weeks. So first of all, I want to present to you the desk and parkings in Outlook. So this means that currently we have a lot of integrations within the Microsoft platform. So for example, our room booking is already integrated. We have, of course, an integration with the Microsoft Teams platform with the Teams link, but also the Office 365 application within Outlook and Teams to access our GoBright portal. To make sure that users can easily access the GoBright platform if needed from their Microsoft environment. Also, of course, Entra ID SCIM integrations are in place to fully get the user sync working, for example. And we're always looking into expanding the integration into the Microsoft environment. So therefore, also we are now including integration with desks and parkings. So that will mean for the users that they will be able to book desks and parkings from their calendar. So we will update the GoBright plugin as well, where they can then search for desks as they're doing for rooms now as well, but also for parking spots in that place, which will just give customers the flexibility to also utilize that process for booking desk and parkings. Another benefit of this is, of course, that will seamlessly integrate into the new Microsoft Places release, which Microsoft has been doing in the past weeks. So therefore, of course, GoBright will seamlessly integrate there and can work together and actually enhance the experience of Microsoft Places as well, which will mean that yeah, customers do not have to choose between one of the other, but they can actually work together and use them simultaneously, which is a big benefit. Again, similarly to the room booking experience, where customers are using Outlook on an average basis for booking the rooms, but they need some extra enhancements to the room booking process, which they will receive from the GoBright platform. And this will, yeah, work similarly with the desks and parkings, which we already have for quite some time in our platforms already. So we are happy to release this in a few weeks as well. And of course, it's part of already the existing desks and parking licenses. Yeah, so that doesn't require any extra cost in that sense. We will update the help center accordingly to how to integrate this as well, so that you can yeah, fully utilize this for your customers or for yourself as well. Then the next big development, which has been ongoing for quite some time, is a upgrade for the Mapviewer. So we have the Mapviewer design, which we are currently using already for quite some time. So I think that's already 6 years, which we've been using that. So that design is in that sense already outdated compared to the updated designs of the portal, for example. So therefore, we wanted to get that in line, but also add extra functionalities. So halfway through the year, we already added some functionalities to the mapping with, for example, adding the the initials on the floor plan or the photos of the users, being able to add the names of the meeting rooms or add text to the floor plan, and of course being able to, as you can see here on this floor plan, create the rooms as a whole, yeah, layer, so to say, instead of just a table in a room, which will just help the user to get clearer information of the meeting rooms and the availability of it. The Mapviewer upgrade will also be released in a couple of weeks. And as you can see, this is a preview of the design. So a main difference is already that on the current Mapviewer, on the right side, you choose the location or the floor plan, and from there you book the resources. We have changed the layout a little bit so that the booking process will become more seamless, and that's now on the right side. So you can select meeting rooms, desks, parkings. You can book lockers there as well, but you can also search for your colleagues. And we've added actually a functionality there that you can also add or search for resources. And what that means is that we, of course, have the non-interactive icons, which you can add on top of the floor plan. They will also become searchable because they have a name. So that means that you can now also find, for example, the bathrooms, the printers, all the different things which might be in the office environment, which are not bookable, which will just make it easier for users to find their way to the right spots inside the floor, which will help efficient working environment. And on the left side, you now see a smaller bar, and that's the location structure, which will help navigate to the right floor plan. And there we also added a home button, which is connected to the floor which this map viewer is on. So users will always have an easy way to navigate to the right map according to the floor they're on, which will just help them navigate to the right resources as well. This is also part of the current Mapviewer license, so we will just add this design on top of the other one, so the other one will not leave. So if you're used to that and you don't want to change it overnight, then that's fine. You can still use that. This will just be an extra design, so to say, which is selectable in the profile. So you can adjust to that when you're ready. And you can test it, of course, then, for example, on one screen first to see what the experience is, and then roll it out gradually through the office building. And then the last one, which has been covered in the last webinars as well, is the advanced analytics. It's the biggest projects we've done in the past year. It's a lot of work, as we are also changing database and making the calculations much more efficient. So there's also some improvement work done in the backend. But the main request for this was that the current analytics doesn't provide all the tools which is needed to get the right data out of the system. And therefore we once added the Power BI dashboard integration, but that was also for some customers a little bit too complicated, or they needed internal resources to get it going, which was not always readily available. And therefore there was quite a gap between both, which is filled in by the advanced analytics, where we will cover much more dashboards, charts, and tables, which will show a lot more data than we currently offer in the current analytics. So this will definitely help with making the right choices in the office environment, being able to find much more information and analysis, but also provides much more functionalities like forecasting, but also being able to export tables and charts to Excel, for example. And currently we only do that to, for example, JPEG. So that will also mean that you can use it in Excel and add your own things to it, which will just make it much more flexible. And it will also mean that we are much more easy to add more dashboards on top. So we also have already on the pipeline working on, for example, a behavior dashboard, but also we have on the planning to work on a dashboard for services, visitors, but also for the issue reporting, for example, just to extend the analytics tool much more for our users to get all the information out of the system which they require to make a more efficient working environment. So these are the bigger developments which are nearly ready to release. Advanced analytics, we also want to offer you the option to get in touch with us and get a demo in January next year, so 2025, so in a month, to get demo, and then we can also see if you can trial it, or you want to trial it, so to say, just to see what kind of value you can get out of it, and if it's worth it for you to get the additional license for the advanced analytics. Then we can go to the ongoing developments. So these are recently started. These are also two bigger projects which will be released in the first half of next year. Hopefully we aim for Q1. And the first one is for our digital signage platform. And that is a addition to the platform to help users actually get slides, templates to their digital signage platform as easy as possible. So we will actually create a template store and also a store for the widgets, so that users actually can import default templates or default widgets which we've been creating as GoBright, or which have been added to the platform. But also if there are updates, for example, to the widgets from our side, or to the templates, or we add a new widget that can be accessed efficiently by going to the template store. But this also means for smaller customers or customers who do not necessarily have someone dedicated to designing templates or designing slides or designing content, that they have access to certain templates which already are available, and they do not have to spend too much time in the designing of it, and just use default ones for showing content or for the holidays which are coming up, just to share nice information on the screens they have inside the office building. So this is this will be part of the View licenses, and will be hopefully ready in Q1 next year, but we'll share more of that in the next webinar as well. And then another big development which is ongoing is the zone booking. And zone booking is a different way of booking for the desk booking. So currently a user has to select a specific desk when making a booking. So they search for floor 1, they go to the marketing department and they select the desk next to the window and they book that, and then that specific desk is booked for them for the next day, for example. This of course means that there's a selection process for the user, which is already time consuming in that sense. It can also mean that users always book the same desk, and that flexible working in that sense is not implemented correctly, because people still have their favorite desk or still create like their own desk because they just booked that one for the rest of the year. We already have limitations for that in the user roles, but still it can happen that users, by booking the same desk over and over, somehow create the feeling for other users that that's their desk. And of course, for new users, when they've booked a desk and they come to the office building, they have to search then to that specific desk when they come in, which can also be a time-consuming manner. So therefore, we will add an extra option which can be pre-selected in the profile, that you can also select zone booking. And what that means is that users then can select a zone where they want to work in. So for example, they click on the marketing department, which consists of 30 desks, and they actually book a spot in that area, which means that they just press on the zone, they say book a spot, they can see who also has booked in that zone, so they can still see which colleagues will be working there, but they do not select a specific desk. So it's just an easier process to book where you want to sit, because you do not have to specifically select where you want to sit. And then actually when they come into the office the next day, they will see which desks in that area are still free, and then they check in, and then they are actually assigned to the specific desk, so that users on a live moment still have the opportunity to find their colleagues and see where they're working. But it makes the process for the user much more easy and effective. This also ties in very well with the Microsoft Places, because Outlook works mainly with desks in bulk. So you actually create a desk which has a capacity, and then when someone books that desk, the capacity increases or decreases, so to say. And therefore, this also will sync up one-on-one with those experiences, which will, of course, make it a more seamless experience for the customer. However, in Outlook, of course, you can also just make a desk or an email address per desk. So then the desk has one capacity, and then it can still sync up with the current way of booking, but that's just a different experience. This is a big development, so this will be ongoing for the next months. So we will also share more updates in the next webinar, and hopefully we can demo it by that time as well. Then we can go to the recent releases, and here I will also show a quick demo of the buffer times. So buffer times is a request which has been made a few times by customers in the past years. So we're happy that we can introduce it at the moment. Buffer times means that admins are able to create a specific time before or after the meeting that the meeting room is blocked for other bookings, specifically for reasons, for example, for cleaning or for setting up the room, making sure the catering is set correctly. But in most cases, it's, for example, being used for combined rooms so that you have room A and room B, and that you can combine it to a bigger room. And then, of course, the wall or the partition walls need to be taken out or put back in, and that takes time. So that time is then blocked for that other people cannot book it. And I will actually be able to show you how it can be set up, but also how it works. So we can go to the dashboard. So here we are, of course, in the GoBright portal. And within the meeting room profiles, we will be able to have an option under approvals to enable buffer times. So the buffer time settings is under approvals. And that has a specific reason because most of our customers have an integration with Outlook. And the buffer time in that sense is, of course, limited by the GoBright platform. So that's a GoBright platform setting. Outlook doesn't offer this functionality, so we cannot sync it up in that sense. But there will be situations where users, when booking in Outlook, do not have any interaction with the GoBright platform directly, so not using the plugin or whatsoever. And therefore, we cannot limit that they can book directly after another booking. And that means that we have linked it to approvals, because if a user books a room in that way, we will still be able to visualize that to the people who are responsible for that meeting room, and that they still have information that the buffer time is violated, so that they can still decline the booking or actually change the booking like half an hour later, that it doesn't violate the buffer time anymore. So for example, here we have the buffer time enabled, so 20 minutes before the booking and 20 minutes after the booking, the room is blocked for other meetings to be booked. And I will show you in a minute how that then will look like. And according to the approval, or with this development, we actually also included the send notification for the booking approvals. That means that when a user makes a booking on that meeting room and approvals needed, that you can add here email addresses, which will then get an email notification with the request that there's a new approval pending. So here we, for example, have a meeting room Amsterdam. This has the buffer time with the 20 minutes before and 20 minutes after the meeting. So as you can see here, we have two bookings, one from 2 to 3 and one from 3 to 4. And I will show you in a minute with the approval how that looks like with one of the bookings that can not be happening in that sense. But if I want to book now a room for example, 1338, that's of course 20, that's in that sense in the buffer time, the meeting. So as you can see, we will show a error message that it cannot be booked before that time or in this time, because it will violate the buffer time. And then, for example, people do not have time anymore to clean the room or to set up the room correctly for the next meeting. So this will limit users to then get access to that meeting room because it violates the buffer time. So in the case I just showed you here with the two meetings from 2 to 3 and 3 to 4, we have the approvals here. And when I would go to the approval here, which is then from 3 to 4, this one was booked after the one from 2 to 3, I have the ability, of course, to accept it. But when I want to accept it, the approver actually gets a notification that it violates the buffer time, which of course they can still accept it, because it could be that they know that the meeting before this time doesn't need the buffer time to actually happen. So you can still use the room then in an effective way, because otherwise there will always be a 20-minute gap. Or they know that the buffer time is needed and they can still edit the meeting to start later, or they can actually decline it, which means that the user then of course gets a notification that the meeting is declined. And then of course you can also give the reason that it violates the buffer time due to the meeting before that time, which then means that the person who has booked it will also be notified accordingly. So that's, yeah, in the buffer time, it's part of the room licenses. So everyone who is using meeting room license can already enable this if needed. And it's, yeah, it is according to the profile. So it's, yeah, you can actually enable it per meeting room if you want to. So what we see with customers who are already using it, that they use it for more high value spaces or spaces who actually need that buffer time and do not utilize it for all the space, because that's just not necessary and will cause inefficiency in the meeting rooms. Then we have two updates in regards to the Interact. It's under recent releases, as we expected to actually release it already this week. But it's the final testing are happening, so yeah, hopefully it can go out in the next days. And one is the internal sensor. So the Interact has a built-in vibration sensor, which means that when someone is using the desk, the Interact will detect vibration and then can actually measure the occupancy. So also being able to then visually show that the desk is being used. So as with the other sensors, it will then change to orange as a state of occupied. It can be used for automatic check-in. So if you have made a booking and the sensor detects that someone's there, it will automatically check in the booking. And it can also be used for the yeah, cancellation of the booking when nobody is using it anymore. So after a certain amount of time of not detecting vibration anymore, it will actually then release the booking as well. The great thing about this is that you just have one device for the booking and you have the sensor included. So also with the customers who already have the current Interact, that hardware is already in, so they just need to have a firmware update once it's released to utilize the sensor. An important note, because it's a vibration sensor, it cannot be utilized in all scenarios. So we advise to only use it on standalone desks, because there are also situations where you work with more people on the longer table, or you have two desks which are connected to one another via the legs. And then, of course, if one person is working at the desk and the other desk is free, it will still be able to detect vibration, which then will mean that you have false positives, which yeah, will mess up your occupancy rates, which we of course do not advise. And therefore still yeah, advise to use the external sensors, which we offer already. But for the standalone desk, this is a very good solution to just have a, yeah, an integrated solution. Then a second Interact update which will be coming up is the NFC simulation, which means that you can now also use the NFC from your mobile phone to scan the Interact to actually book a desk or check in. Of course, the mobile phone could already be utilized via the QR code scanning, so you could already use the QR code with the camera to do this. But now also NFC is enabled, which means that you can scan the Interact with your phone and then interact via the app accordingly. And then another recent release is automations to our digital signage platform. And that actually is a development which has been done to help on a planning perspective, because we currently, of course, offer customers the option to plan slides or content via the schedule. But that's always time-based. So that means that if you want to change from slide 1 to 2 or from playlist 1 to 2, that has to be on a specific time frame. So that always then happens like exactly at 2 o'clock, for example. However, there will be situations where you cannot actually know when it needs to change upfront. So for example, if you have an event which has speakers telling stories, and you have sponsors or content running on screens, but you do not actually know when that's finished. So you do not want to change already the content of the screens when the person is still speaking. Automations can be utilized in that sense. So we can create the change of the channel of the view platform via triggers. So that could be, for example, webhook. So that if you, for example, do a certain action, that then the screen turns from channel 1 to 2 where other content is playing. And then the content will always be aligned to the situation where you are. And one of the most useful scenarios is, of course, an emergency census that's not planned ever, and therefore it's good to just have one channel where you have the emergency content always running for each screen, and then when something happens, you just have to trigger it by the webhook, and then all the screens will turn to the emergency channel, and then the content is, of course, running to help the users get out the building, for example. So that's been released as well, and it's a part of your view license. So currently can be set up. It's in the admin side where you can set that up. And if you need some help, the support help center will provide information regarding that. And otherwise, feel free to reach out to us to get more information. Then a small update regarding our hardware partners. So we have 2 new device partners which we are proudly to present. So we have now a certification with NEAT, and that's regarding to room booking and visitor management. So the NEAT pad can be used for room booking, as you can see on the right side, and the NEAT frame can be used for visitor management. So these have been tested, and NEAT is actually now running the app to their app hub, which can probably be used now already, or one of these days it will be live in their app hub. So then it can you can test it on your own NEAT devices, and customers can also already utilize it. And then the next one is Crestron. That will be in their firmware update in I think Q1 next year. So Crestron has a release schedule for this. But then customers will also be able to utilize the room booking on the Crestron devices which they already have, or if they want new ones, they can of course combine it in that sense. And then some other updates for Philips. We have certified the new devices which they are offering. So Philips launched a new 10-inch display. So that's certified for room booking and visitor management. And Philips also released new digital signage screens for the Q and D line. And those are also certified at this moment. And then the beginning of next year, we will also integrate with 2 new locker manufacturers. So one is Blocks and the other one is Gantner. But more information will be shared in the newsletters in Q1 once that's actually finished. Then last but not least, we have, of course, the new year coming up. So I just wanted to give you a brief overview of things which will be coming up in the first half year. There is more to share or more to be released in that part of the year, but just some big things which are coming up. So the presence confirmation has been released for desk booking and parking booking last 2 months ago in September, if I'm correct. And that means that users will actually get a notification, or at least you can preset that users will get a notification maximum 2 days in advance of the booking, requesting that they actually approve or confirm their presence in the office. to make sure that the booking actually will go ahead, because if they do not show up, or they already know that they will not show up, then other people still have the opportunity to book the desk or the parking. This will also be released for rooms in the first half of next year, so that also users will get a notification of that they have a meeting room booked in 1 or 2 days, and that they can actually confirm their presence, so that if they already know that they will not be going there, that then other people still have time to book that meeting room in advance. So it's in some sense an early check-in, but you can still use this in combination with check-in. So if people actually confirm that they will be there in 2 days, and they for somehow become sick and they still do not use the desk, then of course the check-in will still release it at the moment of the booking. Then we have zone booking, which we covered earlier in the presentation. We have the Wayfinder upgrade, which we shared in the May webinar, which we then had planned for later this year, but due to priority changes, it's pushed back to the beginning of next year. And we actually are also going to work on a combination for room booking and digital signage. So that means that we are going to add 2 features for that. So one is that you can actually combine digital signage on the room booking display, so that when you have a room booking display outside the meeting room, where now just the room booking content is always visible, we will make it happen that utilizing the room booking display, that digital signage will be running, and if they then interact with the screen, that the booking will actually pop up again, and then after a certain amount of time it will redirect back to the digital signage. And we will also implement an option to, for example, have digital signage on the bigger screen inside the meeting room. So for example, with an MTR, or for example, hardware like a barcode, that it can show digital signage inside the meeting room. So therefore, you have a combination of digital signage and room booking in the same room, which will give a lot more benefits than currently being offered in the meeting room. So that's also an exciting development, which will be coming up in the first half year of next year. And yeah, of course, there will be more developments, but those will be a little bit smaller, or not there yet to share. So that's just for you to find out in the next webinar. But this is already a small peek into the next year. So we're happy to keep on developing, and we're really looking forward to release all the things which we mentioned earlier in this presentation. And hopefully we will see you in the beginning of March for our next webinar.